Hello and welcome hardworking aspirants. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the foreign travelers. And the foreign travelers are very important because they give us the account of the Indian history. We come to know about the Indian culture through their travel logs, and it is also very important from the examinations perspective. Each year we see that there are questions related to these foreign travelers, sometimes more than one question also. That makes this topic very important. We are going to discuss about all the foreign travelers, starting from the Greeks to the Chinese, and then there will be these Arabian scholars, and then the European scholars will also be there. So but before we begin, a very quick info. If you want the PDF of this class, okay, or the YouTube classes that we take, you need to join our Telegram channel, and you need to comment in the comment section of the YouTube, and you'll also see that we have given our uh, phone number in the slides. Okay, you can see here it is given. So if there is anything you want to inquire to us about, if there is any question related to your preparation, you can call on the numbers given below. And also, if you are preparing for TSPSC Group 1 or for Group 2 or for UPSC CSE 2026-27, this is the number you should call now and get straight away 50% discount. Anyways, let's get started. So the study of Indian art and culture will be incomplete if we are not going to discuss about the foreign travelers and their accounts, because they represent a very crucial methodology of understanding. From their perspective, we will understand what the ancient and medieval India was. We will also come to know about how the Indian society was at that time, the religion, the politics, the economics, and the cultural practices that were going on there. So starting from the very first ambassadors, the very first ambassador is considered as the Greek ambassador, like the Megasthenes, to the Chinese Buddhist pilgrims and Arab scholars, and also we'll have the others one. In this table, if you see, we have tried to show you the timeline of the foreign travelers in India. We will start with the Greek Romans, and the persons like Megasthenes and Demachus will start it, and then taking from Ptolemy, Fa-Hien to the Abdul Razzaq, we'll be seeing that these were some of the Greeks, Chinese, European, and Arab Persian travelers who visited India. When we talk about the major categories of the foreign travelers, the major categories will start with the Greek and Roman travelers, then the Arab and Persian travelers, and then the European travelers are there. There were also the Chinese travelers, don't forget them. So we'll start with the Greek and Roman travelers. Greek travelers form the earliest systematic documentation of Indian civilization, primarily following Alexander the Great's campaign in 4th century before Common Era. These accounts are particularly significant for understanding the Mauryan Empire and Indo-Greek cultural exchanges. So first and foremost, let's start with Megasthenes. Megasthenes, somewhere around 302 to 298 before Common Era, he was a Greek ambassador to Chandragupta Maurya's court. Okay, basically it is said that the Seleucus Nicator, who founded the Seleucid Empire, he was the one who sent him, and he authored the foundational work Indica, as is rightfully called the father of Indian history. So you should remember this. Megasthenes also wrote Indica and is also called the father of Indian history. His detailed observations, if we see, he talks about the political structure, that is the description of the Mauryan administrative system, centralized governance, and the role of the king in justice administration. Next, the division of Indian society into 7 castes. He talks about the philosophers, that is the Brahmins and the Buddhist Ramanas. Then we have the farmers, we have herdsmen, we have craftsmen, we have soldiers, inspectors, and counselors. And the economic conditions, he said that the agricultural practices were followed, trade relations, taxation system, and the prosperity of the Mauryan Empire was to be seen at that time. And for the cultural practices, he says that marriage customs, religious beliefs, and daily life of ancient Indians is also mentioned in his travelogue Indica. Megasthenes also noted that the Indians seldom went to law and theft was very rare here, and describing a society characterized by honesty and moral uprightness. So this is something that you should note of that time. His work provides crucial insights into the caste systems, early structure, and the exemption of farmers from military services. Next, we come to Ptolemy. Ptolemy, somewhere around 130 Common Era. Ptolemy, the Greek geographer, authored the Geography of India, which provides comprehensive geographical knowledge of the Indian subcontinent. His work includes geographical descriptions like the detailed accounts of India's rivers, mountains, and the coastal regions. Then he also talks about the trade routes, information about ports, commercial pathways in the Deccan region, and the coordinate system, use of latitude and longitude for mapping Indian territories. That is what Ptolemy talks about. Then let's see the Chinese Buddhist travelers. So the Chinese traveler primarily visited India for religious purposes, seeking the Buddhist texts and visiting sacred sites related to Buddha. Their accounts provide invaluable information about Buddhism's development and Indian educational institutions. So first we'll start with Fa-Hien, somewhere around 399 to 450, 414 Common Era. Fa-Hien, the first Chinese pilgrim to India, visited during Chandragupta II's reign and authored record of Buddhist kingdoms. His observations will include religious conditions, status of Buddhism during the Gupta period, existence of numerous Buddhist monasteries. That's what he writes about. Social life is peaceful nature of Indian society, rarity of any crime, and liberal administration was there. Educational system, description of Buddhist learning centers and monasteries is what he has mentioned, and the cultural practices he talks about, religious festivals, customs, and daily life of Indians. So this is what Fa-Hien has written about. Fa-Hien noted that Buddhism and Hinduism were both popular, with Buddhism being more prominent in Punjab, Bengal, and regions around Mathura. There is one thing more about Fa-Hien that you should know, though he visited at the time of Chandragupta II, but he has not mentioned anything about Chandragupta II. Hiuen Tsang is the next one whom we are going to talk about. Known as the Prince of Pilgrims, visited India during Harsa's reign and spent 16 years studying and traveling. His masterwork CUK, that is the record of the Western world, provides comprehensive coverage of educational excellence that was in India, detailed description of Nalanda university with its 10,000 students and somewhere around 15 and 10 1,500 teachers. Political condition was Harsa's administration, revenue system, and governance structure. Religious landscape is something where he talks about the coexistence of Buddhism, Jainism, as well as Brahmanism, and social structure like the caste system's rigidity and social hierarchies are mentioned in Hiuen Tsang's book. He will also talk about the defeat of Harsa by Pulakesen II. That is something to be known, and it is said that he uh, gave quite a lot information about India's history of that time. Hiuen Tsang describes Harsa's revenue division into four parts, that is the state administration, government personal salaries, scholar support, and charitable donation to religious institution. And you should also know that Harsa, to felicitate Hiuen Tsang, he organized the Kannauj assembly. Okay, so that is something you should note down. Ising, that is 671 to 695 Common Era. Ising spent 10 years at Nalanda and 4 years at Bikramshila, focusing on Buddhist monastic rules and practices. Also remember one thing, if you are seeing here, these Chinese travelers basically are in India because of this Buddhist monasteries and this educational institution like the Nalanda, like the Bikramshila, like the very first Tachasila. These were very important. They were making India as an educational hub for the world all around. The people are coming for this purpose. The monastic life is what Ising talks about, detailed description of Buddhist monasteries and operations in daily routines. He also talks about the educational practices like documentation of admission, procedures, curriculum, and teaching methods of Nalanda and Bikramshila. And the religious text, he talks about translation of Buddhist scriptures and the collection of manuscripts from here. So these are few of the remains of the very famous educational institutions of India of that time. Now let's see, after the Chinese, the Arab and the Persian travelers. Arab and Persian travelers provide unique perspective on medieval Indian society, particularly during the Sultanate period. Al-Masudi is someone who has said to been in India from 915 to 957 Common Era. Al-Masudi, known as the Herodotus of the Arabs, authored Muruj ul Jahab. Okay, meadows of gold, that is what it is called, as his observations covered many different parts that we'll see. Visited during Pratihar kingdom, that was Al-Juzr. So he talks about the religious tolerance, Hindus rulers, protection of Muslim minorities and religious freedom. The political system, he talks about the secular outlook of Indian rulers and administrative practices, cultural exchanges, interaction between Islamic and Indian civilization at that time, and the economic conditions. He said that the trade relationship and commercial activities were there. That is something to note down. Okay. So that is what the Al-Masudi has written. Al-Masudi also noted that neither in India nor in Sindh did sovereigns disturb the peace of Muslims, highlighting the religious tolerance of Indian rulers. So this is something that you can note down for your future references. Al-Biruni from 1017 to 103 Common Era. Al-Biruni accompanying Mahmud of Ghazni rather, authored Kitabul Hind, that is Tahqiq in Hind, also known as one of the most systematic studies of Indian civilization. Is comprehensive analysis. Al-Biruni is someone who has given you a comprehensive point of view about India. He talks about the social structure, that the detailed examination of the caste and systems and social hierarchies he has done. He talks about the scientific knowledge, that Indian achievements in mathematics, astronomy and medicine was at par at that time. Religious practices, he talks about the Hindu beliefs, festivals, custom and philosophical systems, and the cultural traditions, art, literature and intellectual pursuits. These are few of the things that Al-Biruni has noted in his chapters. Al-Biruni's work is structured in 80 chapters with mathematical precision, reflecting his scientific methodology. He learned Sanskrit and directly studied Indian texts, making his observations particularly very valuable. So that is something about Al-Biruni you should know. Next is Ibn Battuta from 1333 to 1347 Common Era. Ibn Battuta, the Moroccan traveler, served as a Qadi or the judge in Delhi under Muhammad bin Tughlaq and authored Rihala. Rihala is the travels. His accounts provides the political insights, where he talks about Muhammad bin Tughlaq's administrative reforms and the policies. He talks about the social conditions, or that is the urban life, cultural practices and the social hierarchies of that time. Then the economic activities, where he talks about the trade network, taxation and the commercial activities, and also the cultural traditions, where he talks about the Islamic influence on Indian society and the cultural syncretism. Okay. Next is the European travelers. The European travelers from 15th century onward documented India during the transition from medieval to early modern periods, providing insight into regional kingdoms and the cultural transformation. So first and foremost, Marco Polo, that is from 1288 to 1294 Common Era. Marco Polo visited South India during the Kakatiya and Pandya rule and authored the book of Sir Marco Polo. His observations will include economic wealth, called the Pandya kingdom the richest and the most splendid province in the world for its pearls and gems. So this is also something which talks about India at that time was a nation which the world looked at as a very wealthy nation. Political system, regional kingdoms and administrative structures and the governance is what Marco Polo is talking about. He also talks about the trade networks, that is the commercial relationship and the international trade that was happening, and the cultural practices, description of customs, traditions and the social life. Next is Niccolo Conti. Niccolo Conti, the Venetian merchant, visited during Devaraya I's reign in the Vijayanagara Empire. His account will describe about the political insight, that the Vijayanagara's administration and territorial extent. He also talks about the economic activities, trade routes, commercial practices, also the cultural observations, that the religious practices, architecture and the social customs what were there. And he will also talk about the linguistic insights, like referred to Telugu as the Italian of the East due to vowel editing. So this is also something that you can point out for Niccolo Conti. Next is Abdul Razzaq from 1442 to 1444 Common Era. Abdul Razzaq, the Persian ambassador, visited Devaraya II's court and authored Matla us Sadain wa Majma ul Bahrain. He detailed observations he will cover about the administrative excellence of Vijayanagar's governmental structure and the efficiency. He will also talk about the economic prosperity of that time, talking about the trade networks, agricultural productivity and the wealth. Also the architectural marvels, like the descriptions of palaces, temples and the urban planning, and the cultural sophistication, that is the art, literature, and intellectual achievements, will be talked about Abdur Razzaq. Okay, so basically he was at the time of the Vijayanagar Empire, that we can see. Let's see next the thematic analysis. So the thematic analysis and the foreign accounts, political and administrative systems. Foreign travelers consistently documented India's sophisticated administrative systems. Megasthenes described the Mauryan Empire's centralized administration with detailed accounts of royal courts, justice systems, and the governance structure. So this is something that you should note down. Hiuen Tsang praised Hasa's administrative efficiency and the personal involvement in the governance. Al-Biruni noted that the fragmented political landscape with the multiple kingdoms maintaining their distinctive practices was something to note down. That is what we see for the Hiuen Tsang, Al-Biruni, and Megasthenes. Okay. Next, the travelers observed India's traditions of religious tolerance across different periods. Al-Masudi, that is, specifically noted that Indian rulers protected Muslim minorities, while Ibn Battuta described the coexistence of Islamic and Hindu traditions in Delhi Sultanate territories. So it is talking about the religious tolerance in India at that time, and it also talks a lot about the social structure and the caste system. So Megasthenes describes 7 social divisions in Mauryan society that we have already seen, while Al-Biruni provided a comprehensive analysis of the 4 Varna system and its social implications. Hiuen Tsang noted the rigidity of caste distinctions during Hasa's period. Foreign travelers also documented women's status in India society, and when we see what the Megasthenes has to say, he describes polygamous marriage and women's participation in economic activities. Marco Polo noted regional variations in women's social freedom, particularly in South India, when he talks about the caste system in India, and that is the social structure. The foreign travelers also documented women's status in Indian society. Megasthenes described polygamous marriage and women's participation in economic activities, while Marco Polo noted regional variations in women's social freedom, particularly in South India. Religious and cultural practices, when we see Buddhist institutions receive particular attention from Chinese pilgrims. Fa-Hien documented Buddhist prominence during the Gupta period, while Hiuen Tsang provided detailed descriptions of Nalanda University as an international center of learning. Ising focused on monastic practices. So basically, when you see these Chinese travelers, more of them are talking about the Buddhist prominence and the educational institution of that time. Hindu religious practices were extensively documented by Arab and Persian travelers. Al-Biruni studied Hindu scriptures, festivals, and philosophical systems with remarkable objectivity, and Ibn Battuta described religious diversity in medieval India and syncretism between Islamic and Hindu traditions. So this is what we have seen for that. The economic condition and trade. Let's see, talk about that also. Foreign accounts provide crucial insight into India's economic prosperity and international trade. Megasthenes described agriculture, abundance, and efficient taxation system. Marco Polo will highlight India's wealth in pearls, gems, and spices, while Pliny the Elder documented extensive Indo-Roman trade through detailed descriptions. Now, the urban prosperity was consistently noted by traveler. Hiuen Tsang described Kannau's beauty and commercial prosperity, while Abdur Razzaq was impressed by Vijayanagar's wealth and architectural grandeur. Al-Masudi noted India's role in international commerce and cultural exchange. Next, moving to the educational and intellectual achievements. So basically what we'll see, particularly the Chinese pilgrims will document about these educational institutions. Nalanda University was described as having 10,000 students from various countries including China, Korea, Tibet, and Mongolia. Ising documented admission procedure, curriculum structure, and teaching methodologies of that time. Scientific achievements were particularly noted by Arab scholars. Al-Biruni praised Indian mathematics, astronomy, and medical knowledge, while he specifically mentions Indian discoveries in mathematics, including zero decimal system and astronomical calculation. And this is something which happened around Chandragupta II's period. Let's see few of the question if we can answer them. Who authored the work Kitabul Hind that provides an in-depth study of Indian society and religion? Well, the correct answer here is Al-Biruni, who wrote Kitabul Hind. Okay, you can see by pausing the video the complete analysis. Match the foreign travelers with the sites or institution they describe. So we have Hiuen Tsang, Marco Polo, Fa-Hien and Abdur-Razzaq. And we have the Pandya Kingdom, Nalanda University, Pandharpur and Hampi. And the right answer, Hiuen Tsang describes about Nalanda, Marco Polo wrote about the Pandya Kingdom, Fa-Hien visited sites like Pandharpur and Abdur-Razzaq describes Hampi. Next question is about Chinese traveler Fa-Hien. He visited India during the reign of Chandragupta II. Yes, that's what we have discussed several times. And he primarily came to collect Buddhist scriptures. Yes, so both should be correct here and both are correct. What is the primary value of foreign travelers account in reconstructing ancient Indian history? They provide information absent from indigenous records. They mainly describe rituals and ceremonies. They only focus on Indian kings. They were biased and add little value. The last one definitely cannot be correct. And they provided information absent from indigenous records is something that we can say. So foreign travelers give unique perspective and record observations sometimes missing in Indian sources, thus helping Indian historians cross verify the facts. And the last question, which traveler visited India during the time of Vijayanagar Empire? We discussed it. The correct answer here is Abdur-Razzaq, who visited during the 15th century. So with this, we come to the end of this very important class. And but the most important thing that you can do as an aspirant is get onto this one-on-one live mentorship with Deepika ma'am, who is having 20 plus years of experience and who can really help you shorten your journey from an aspirant to an administrative officer. So don't waste time. You can call on the numbers given below to inquire for more. It takes nothing for calling, totally your decision. And also if you want the PDF of this class, join our Telegram channel and comment below so that we can give you the PDF. And also if there is any question, you can call on the number given below and subscribe so that we meet again. Thank you so much. Keep working hard.